There's this movie trope that a 130-pound soaking wet woman can knock over a 200-pound man who is physically trained. That's absurd. It's absurd in the extreme. One of the things about the Bond series is that Daniel Craig is ripped beyond belief, and he can beat the crap out of anyone, and so that at least that part of the movie is plausible. If you're talking about somebody who's a bowling ball of a human going into other people and breaking them up, that makes a lot more sense. There's less suspension of disbelief along those lines if it turns out that the hero is actually physically large. And that is one aspect of James Bond. And then there's the other aspect, right? Because Bond is about the guns and the girls. When it comes to the seduction of women, there is a very, very large difference between a woman and a man. Now, I'm not even going to get into the lesbian aspect of this because I don't know if this character is going to be a lesbian. Let's assume that she's not for a second. Let's assume that she is just black female James Bond, which means that she's betting the most handsome men. That is not in any way a wish fulfillment fantasy for the men who typically watch the Bond films, because disproportionate share of the Bond audience is male. So unless you're completely shifting the character, it makes no sense. It also, on a narrative level, makes no sense at all, because the challenge for James Bond to be completely sexist about this, okay? The challenge for James Bond is conquest, right? That's obviously been part of the trope of the series, is this conquest-driven mentality. That was always the appeal of Bond, is in every movie he was going to somehow seduce the most beautiful woman in the movie into bed with him. And this is what made him an idol to millions of men, who of course would like to seduce beautiful women but are incapable of doing so, because there's an actual challenge to it. Now, let's say that there's a beautiful woman who is playing James Bond, like Lashana Lynch, let's say, and now she wants to seduce the most handsome man. Is that in any way difficult? Because men and women are different.